This is not deja vu. For the second straight season, Jerickson Profar has been suspended, and this time it's for the entire season.
You are Locked On Braves, your daily Atlanta Braves podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, welcome back to Locked On Braves, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta, where we cover your favorite Atlanta sports teams each and every day. Also part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 sports podcast network. I'm your host, Jake Mastroianni. I've been covering the Atlanta Braves in both written and podcast form for over 10 years now, and I can't ever quite remember a time like this for Atlanta Braves and the hits that they just keep taking when the season's not even in right now. But once again, this is also Locked On Braves, your daily connection to all things Atlanta Braves. And again, unfortunately, a lot of the breaking news and talking points here for the Atlanta Braves in spring training has not been good. And this is the case again, as Jerickson Profar suspended, testing positive for a performance-enhancing drug for the second straight year. Just unbelievable. I mean, there's a number of words that you could use here to try to describe this, and I don't think any of them would actually fit the situation that the Atlanta Braves are looking at right now with Jurickson Profar. I mean, 2 years in a row at about the same time, you have a guy testing positive for performance-enhancing drugs. I think if you want to, we'll try to be as optimistic as we can today. If you want to look at it somewhat optimistically, at least this time it happened before the season began. So now maybe you have at least a little bit of time to try to prepare for that and make a move. We'll see if AA does that. We'll talk later about what moves they could actually make right now. And let's start with that. And that you're losing a guy in Jerickson Profar who I've been saying all off season, I don't have any concerns about Jerickson Profar. Maybe that's my fault. I jinxed it, but I kept saying, I don't have any concerns about Profar. I thought when he came back last year, he showed that it was still legit. What we saw in 2024 was legit. He had a 122 WRC plus last season for the Atlanta Braves. The power was still there. A 189 ISO was actually better than his 2024 season. So all that told me is that once Profar came back from suspension, that okay, the PED test, whatever, that was just random. He still is a very good player. He's still the player the Braves signed and is going to be a productive player batting at the top of the order. Well, now I can't say that anymore because he has a second positive test. And so now the question again is, okay, well, now have what we've seen the past 2 years. Is that legitimate from Jerickson Profar? And does it even matter as a Braves fan at this point? Because he's going to miss all of this year. We don't know what 2027 looks like. And I know a lot of people are hoping that the Braves just find some way to get rid of Profar altogether. But we have to question again, who is this Jerickson Profar fella? What can he actually do? How much have these performance enhancing drugs really mattered? I know last year, a lot of people kind of just wrote it off. There was some, conspiracy. Maybe they're not conspiracy theory. Maybe it was legitimate that it was, some sort of fertility drug that he was taking, trying to, get pregnant, not himself, but, and a lot of people bought into that narrative. You can't say that again. You can't make that excuse again. It is, again, I can't find the right word because there isn't a right word to fully explain what happened here with Jerickson Profar. 2 years in a row, around the same time, you're costing your team a big part of what you were planning for and hoping for. So that's what the Braves are losing here. They're losing a guy in Jerickson Profar that we thought and anticipated and projected was going to be, top of the order type of bat, somewhere between 2 and 5 in the lineup, going to give you, solid 115, 120 WRC plus type of production. So well above average offensive production, was going to be your primary DH, but also play left field against left-handed pitching. And now that's gone. So that's what you've lost. That's what you've lost is a, well above average bat who's going to be your left fielder against lefties, going to be your primary DH against righties. That's what the Braves have lost here. And let's also just get into the news of it. Sorry if I'm bouncing around a little bit here, just kind of reacting to it. Jeff Passan saying Atlanta Braves designated hitter Jerickson Profar facing a 162-game suspension. So he's gone the entire year. And when you're suspended in the year, you can't play in the postseason either. So he's not coming back for the postseason. a 162 game suspension after testing positive for a performance enhancing drug for the second time. A kid, just cannot believe this. Allison, I'm going to butcher that last name, so I'm not going to try it there, but a reporter for WSB TV in Atlanta asked Profar at the beginning of spring training if he did anything this offseason to make sure that the mix-up in regards to the PED suspension last year that happened before never happens again. And Profar said, yes, he did. Video, Zach Klein posted the video of Allison asking that question. And apparently he didn't. He just didn't. And again, Gabe Burdens of the AJC saying just embarrassing and inexcusable. You know, those are a couple of words that I couldn't find a minute ago that you could definitely use. Like, again, it still doesn't quite explain it for me of how this could actually happen and how he could allow this to happen again. And what it does to your team, what it does to your teammates who are counting on you. As I've seen a lot of comments going around social media, somebody saying, how could a team ever trust you again now? We don't know what's going to happen in 2027. He's still under contract for $15 million in 2027 with the Atlanta Braves. Don't know what's going to happen there. But how could a team ever trust you again? How can a teammate, ever fully trust you again? It's put Profar in a bad spot, obviously, for obvious reasons. It's put the Braves in an awful spot. I don't know. Again, I don't want to overplay Profar's significance, but it's also going to be really difficult to replace a guy who's a switch hitter. You're hoping for at least a 120 WRC plus, so well above average type of hitter this late in the ballgame. And a guy that you went out and signed, I saw friend Grant McCauley talk about it earlier, that this is, quite easily going to go down as one of the worst signings in Braves history. When you're talking about a guy who you signed, for $40 million, and over 2 years, he's going to play in 80 of those games for you. And not because of injury, but because of suspension. So this is just really incredible that we're having to go through this again. Like I said, the only positive is that at least it happened now. And so hopefully AA has time to respond to it and make something happen. And that's what we're going to look at next. We'll look at internal options. What are the Braves going to do internally to replace Jerickson Profar? And what are the actual options out there externally that AA could be looking at right now? We'll take a look at all that here next. Today, I am thrilled to talk about MLB The Show 26, one of my favorite games out there, if not my favorite game. You hear me talk about MLB The Show all the time. I don't play a lot of video games these days, but when I do, I definitely jump into MLB The Show. It's the greatest game in baseball, and it's there in video form for you to live out your dreams. Me, specifically, I like getting in there. I like playing in the online mode. I'm a Diamond Dynasty type of player. I like being able to compete against other guys, building my favorite team. Always got to build up my Braves team. And this year with Andrew Jones back as a new legend, you can have an outfield of Hank Aaron, Andrew Jones, and Ronald Acuna Jr. I mean, if that doesn't make you want to play the game as a Braves fan, I don't know what else I can do to incentivize you. I cannot wait to get in there and build that team, build my Braves theme team. I also like to get into BR because they're 3-inning modes. Like I said, don't have a lot of time to play video games these days. So those 3-inning game modes are definitely what fit me. But whatever fits you, they definitely have it in MLB The Show. So many different varieties of games that you can play. If you're a gamer, a baseball fan, or just want to enjoy America's favorite pastime in a new and exciting way, you're going to love MLB The Show 26. Play as your favorite team and franchise players and see if you have what it takes to win your own World Series. Visit MLBtheshow.com/lockedon and use the code LOCKEDON to unlock a pack for use in Diamond Dynasty. Internet connection is required. Great way to support the podcast here for something that I know a lot of you enjoy. So if you're going to pre-order the game, please make sure that you use this link and use our code. It's going to help me out a ton and get yourself a free pack. Pre-order now, available March 17th on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series S and X, and Nintendo Switch, rated E for everyone. It's tax time, but for a lot of us, the old way of doing taxes is a lot. Trying to book an appointment that's not the most convenient, sitting in a waiting room with a stack of papers, emailing back and forth and wondering if they really get your situation. But this year, you're getting a major upgrade. Intuit TurboTax now has in-person locations nationwide. You can meet face-to-face with a real tax expert, and your document gets uploaded straight to your TurboTax expert on the spot. And just like that, you're done. Your TurboTax expert works to get you every dollar you deserve while you get real-time notifications as you go about your day. It's the relief of walking in and meeting a real person and walking out knowing your taxes are being handled right. Head to turbotax.com/local to find a store near you and book your appointment. Again, that is turbotax.com/local to find a store near you and book your appointment today. Thank you, as always, making Locked On Braves your first listen of the day. And thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. If you haven't already, go check out the new Every Dayer Club. We got 2 tiers. Our first tier is going to get you ad-free audio versions of the podcast and access to our members-only Discord. But if you want our all-access tier as well, you get all-access episodes, myself and Lindsay, text access to me and Lindsay, and so much more. You can see all that over at lockedonbraves.supercast.com, and the link is in the show notes. Getting back into this very fun Jurickson Profar conversation today, the next step that we get to look at is how do the Braves replace Jerickson Profar, both internally and externally. It's March 3rd. Obviously, not a lot of big free agents out there, and even if they were, the Braves don't sign the top free agents anyway. How are they going to replace the production that you are hoping to get from Jerickson Profar? Can you replace that at this point? As I talked about, I mean, my expectations for him were pretty high. Going to hit the top of the lineup, top 5 hitter in the order, well above average type of offensive player. I don't know how you're going to replace that value at this point in the offseason. Now, again, trying to be as optimistic as possible on what is such a bummer of a podcast. There's the potential that in a month or so, you get Sean Murphy back, you get Ha-Seong Kim back, and then you can kind of figure out the DH spot a little bit more, and you've got definitely some hitters, but you don't know what Murphy exactly is going to look like coming back from injury. So there's still some uncertainty there, but it does give you more options. I'm looking at Fangraph's depth chart right now, and they have Dominic Smith as the Braves DH in the Braves starting lineup batting 8th. I don't know that Dominic Smith is going to quite be the answer for the Atlanta Braves. Obviously, this is going to make Mike Yastrzemski your starting left fielder, but are we actually going to see Yastrzemski start against lefties? What would be a nice scenario here is that if you get Ha-Seong Kim back against a left-handed starter, you obviously have Ha-Seong Kim at short. You could put Dubon in left field for Yastrzemski, and then you could DH, either Baldwin or Murphy at that point. Like I said, in a month or so, you get those 2 guys back and you don't lose anybody else to injury or suspension. I think you have a better chance of covering this Profar situation. But right now, there's not a ton that you can really do internally. I mean, Dominic Smith, Ben Gamel, I talked a lot about him on the non-roster invitee podcast that I did. He's already hit a couple homers in spring training. He might be an internal option. But again, I just don't know that you're replacing that value. So that would be the 2 guys for me. But still, then you're going to need somebody against left-handed starters. And that's been one of the things that we've discussed on here a lot for that final bench spot. I said Ben Gamel, but I said at that time, I would prefer it to be a right-handed bat. I don't see where that right-handed bat is coming from. This might mean more playing time for Eli White. I could see Eli White getting, some more opportunities in left field against left-handed starters. That's really going to be the big key in all of this, because obviously Yastrzemski was going to start in left field anyway, and then Profar was going to be out there against left-handed starters. So you really just need somebody in the field when a left-handed starter is on the mound. And so to do that, you need obviously somebody that can handle lefties like a right-handed bat. So that's probably going to mean more opportunities for Eli White. It could mean more opportunities for Jonah Heim in the DH spot against a lefty starter. But Eli White, obviously, because you can plug him into the outfield. Nobody else, unfortunately, really at the minor league level. I don't think Nacho Alvarez is going to be that guy. And again, you need somebody that can play in the outfield. So I think those are the 2 realistic internal options. Ben Gamel, but again, that doesn't help you against lefty starters. Dominic Smith either. So it's most likely going to be Eli White that you're replacing Jurickson Profar with. And that's just not great. Certainly not what you were expecting. Eli White's not going to be a top of the order bat, Ben Gamel, Dominic Smith, those aren't going to be top of the order bats for you guys who, are going to put the ball in play, get on base, give you a little bit of pop. Maybe Smith and Gamel could give you some pop in there. Eli White was better last year. So internally, there's not a ton that the Braves can do. And yes, Mastroianni points out Eli White was good against left-handers last year. So again, I think he's probably the guy to benefit the most from this. But still, I mean, that's a step down. And, it's to be expected when you lose a guy like Profar. Now, you look externally from the Atlanta Braves, some of the suggestions that I've seen so far, we've talked about McCutchen a little bit on here. And I know Grant McCauley has talked about Andrew McCutchen a lot as a possibility. Even before all of this, is somebody that could, be that veteran bench piece. I thought it made sense as that right-handed veteran bench piece that the Braves could use. First of all, you got to convince Andrew McCutchen to even want to come back at this point. Looking at his splits from last year against right-handers, it was actually, or against lefties rather, is what you're going to use. It was a 742 OPS against lefties last season. So that's not terrible. So he is definitely somebody that the Braves could look at if Kutch wants to give it another run for what's hopefully going to be a contending team. Don't know how much you really have to pay to convince him to do that. Just looking at Eli White real quick, a 736 OPS against left-handed pitchers last year. So similar, obviously Eli White, very good defender, better defender than McCutchen at this point. But McCutchen is somebody that you could go after. And then the other one that I saw out there, give credit to Matt Powers on this one, would make the outfield thing a little bit difficult, but you could find a way. It would strictly or mostly be a DH only type of scenario. But Isaac Paredes, the Astros are known to be shopping him, and you go get a guy like that, and suddenly you're getting somebody that could possibly even outdo what you were hoping to get from Profar this upcoming season. Somebody that has a lot of poolside power. Now you'd rather have poolside power as a left-handed hitter in Truist, but still 128 WRC plus last year for Houston. Did Isaac Paredes. He also doesn't strike out a ton, just a 17.4% strikeout rate last year with around a 12% walk rate. So somebody that's going to get on base, 350, 346, 350 on base percentage the last 3 years with 31 home runs in 23, 20 home runs last year, 19 home runs the year before that. So he is somebody that kind of outside of the box. Again, it's not really going to help you in the outfield, but definitely somebody at the DH spot that the Braves could target that makes sense. He can play third base. He's played some second base. He definitely played third base as well. I didn't realize Isaac had played shortstop before. I don't think that's going to be an option for him, but that was an interesting name that I saw Matt Powers of Battery Power throw out there as somebody that the Braves, who is available, that they're trying to trade, that the Astros are trying to trade, that you could go after that would give you a big bat. I mean, that's a bat that could bat 5th, 6th in the order for you, where Profar was going to be. So I think that one definitely could make a lot of sense depending on what the cost, what it looks like. Looking at the splits for Isaac Paredes last year, though, 691 OPS against lefties, 832 against right. So actually somebody at least last season that hit better against righties than lefties, but the year before that it was flipped. It was 866 OPS against lefties, 696 against righties. So that might have just been a 1-year fluke. Just looking back through the seasons, it's kind of gone back and forth, but mostly handled lefties well. Last year looking like it was the outlier. But those are the two names that I saw pop up there. I saw somebody saying, can you get Ozuna back? Not going to happen right now. I just don't. Again, it's an unfortunate spot for the Atlanta Braves to be in a second year in a row. You at least do have a month to kind of deal with it and find some replacements. There are going to be some teams that have some roster crunches, but you're talking about guys who, like the Ben Gamels of the world, guys who are going to be coming in on minor league deals that you could perhaps pick up to try to supplement this and replace it. In a month or two, it will be hopefully helped if nobody else gets hurt between now and then with the return of Murphy and Ha-Sung Kim, and that's going to help. But for an offense that has struggled the last 2 years, to already lose a big piece of your offense, and again, I don't want to overvalue Profar. I felt comfortable in the type of bat that he was, that at least what we thought he was. Now we don't know again. We have to question that all over again. So I don't want to overvalue Profar in that he's just some irreplaceable player. It's not the case, but he was definitely somebody that that you thought was going to be a big part of your offense, and that offense that it felt like the Braves have been trying to transition to, where it's more of a well-rounded offense, where it's a guy that can give you, 20 home run potential, but is also somebody that's not going to strike out a lot and is going to get on base. It feels like the Braves have been trying to move in that direction with Profar, with Ha-Seong Kim. And now you already without Ha-Seong Kim for at least, a month and a half or two. And now you're without Profar as well, to the guys that really fit that mold. And so now what does this offense look like? So again, season's not a complete loss. I'm going to try to spin some positive here at the end of this episode. Season's not a loss without Profar. Definitely hurts. We saw at the beginning of last year, losing Profar in the first, second game of the year. Offense struggled to get going without him, without Ronald Acuna at the top of the order, those guys getting on base. And we saw how well it worked in the second half, having those two guys at the top of the order. So it's definitely going to hurt. But again, it's not like the season is just completely toast without Profar. We're actually going to talk about that on the episode that I was planning to do today, that will actually come out later Tuesday night. We're going to talk about some of the weaknesses and the concerns of this Atlanta Braves team. And one of those we were going to talk about, is, the bottom of the order, but just also how this lineup maneuvers and the being able to combine what they learned from Tim Hires last year and getting that power approach back. So we'll talk a lot more about that on the next episode of Locked On Braves. But Profar isn't quite the missing piece that was going to determine the season. But it definitely hurts, and you would definitely like to have him, and you would like to have that production that you were expecting to get from him, the production that you got from him last year. The other good part of this for the Atlanta Braves is now they freed up $15 million. You don't have to pay a suspended player, so that's $15 million this year that the Braves are going to get back. They're now actually under the luxury tax threshold. Hopefully that doesn't give the Braves any ideas into, hey, maybe we should have another season under the luxury tax payroll, see how this CBA shakes out, and then go from there. I hope that's not what they get in their mind. I think you should be thinking the opposite of that, and that maybe this is the last year that we have this luxury tax threshold like this, and we should be going all out. And actually, if I look at Fangraphs right now, they have their estimated luxury tax payroll at 246, which is still $2 million over the first threshold. So I think it was Ken Rosenthal that I saw who said that the Braves are now under the luxury tax threshold. But according to Fangraphs, that's not correct. They're still $2 million over, but they're right there on that line now of the first threshold. So Ken Rosenthal said Profar was due $15 million. Braves actually would save $18 million as they were over the luxury tax threshold, paying 20% for every dollar they were above. And again, that should not be the case for the Atlanta Braves. They need to go out and spend money. It's just now, who do you spend it on, and where do you go get it? Do you take this money now and go get another starter? Do you go get Lucas Giolito, who's still out there? So this does open up some more possibilities for the Braves to potentially have more money to spend. I thought they still had another 15 to 18 million to spend, was still leaving themselves some room for in-season moves. And so maybe now you have 30 million or so left to spend this offseason. So I think that gives AA some flexibility to go make something happen, but definitely this wasn't expected, and he's going to have to figure all of that out, and he's going to have to figure it out quick. I mean, the season is coming upon us pretty soon, and that is a pretty big loss for the Atlanta Braves of what's already been several losses for them this season, and the hits that this team just keeps taking. Again, we'll wrap all this up here next. We will talk about what to do going forward, and MLBPA isn't quite giving up on this. Maybe there's still some hope that Profar will be available this season. We'll talk about that next. MLB opening day is almost here, ready or not, and you can definitely feel it. Fresh starts, big expectations, and that first crack of the bat. Whether it's a breakout rookie or a division race that goes down to the wire, there's nothing like being in the ballpark for it. The only problem, getting tickets can feel like a grind. Long queues, surprise fees, prices jumping at checkout, and that's where Game Time comes in. The Game Time app gives fans the advantage with constant innovation. It's how you unlock amazing tickets and experience in just a few taps. It's simple to use. The Game Time guarantee also means you'll get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time at the best price. And here's the best part. Fees are included in the price you see. What you see is the price you pay, period. I almost got beat on this. I was looking at Game Time going to the spring training games that I just attended, and I was looking at the prices on Game Time, and they seemed good. I was also looking around another site, and they seemed great there. And I go to check out on that site, and what do you know? I get to the fee screen, and it's more than what it was on Game Time. So, of course, I went back to the guys at Game Time, bought the tickets there, and enjoyed some spring training action. So I love that. You see that what's the price you see right there is the price that you pay, and it's usually going to be the lowest price that you see out there. You also get seat views, so you know exactly what your view is going to look like from your seat when you go to a ballpark. 2 taps and it's done. No stress, no hidden fees, just great seats in minutes. That's what makes it so easy to decide last minute to hit a game. Take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Again, terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. So just wrapping up our conversation here on Jerickson Profar. Thank you all for joining me today. I'll try to get to some of your questions here in a moment. But I think ultimately just trying to take a deep breath and take in this Profar news. I think for Alex Anthopoulos, you have to do something. There's been a lot of negative energy, at least in the fan base. Maybe it's different in the clubhouse. I'm not in the clubhouse. I don't know. It definitely felt like bad energy last year. And again, that happened during the season, so it's different. At least now it's in spring training, so you have time to prepare for it. But I think you have to do something. One of the potential things here, it's not likely. MLBPA did challenge the suspension by Major League Baseball. I highly doubt anything is going to come of that, and that's actually going to get overturned. Ken Rosenthal saying that the Players Association plans to challenge MLB's intention to suspend Jerickson Profar for 162 games. Union will file a grievance. I doubt anything was going to come of that. I would plan on Jerickson Profar not being here this year. You know, you test positive, the rules are pretty clear. But again, there's a small chance that could happen. Willie B saying the Players Association almost always appeals, so I don't think there's much of a chance. Yeah, agreed. It's not likely. So you have to figure this out. And for AA, I think you have to do something. I think Andrew McCutchen makes a lot of sense. And again, I thought he made sense even before this. I think he makes even more sense now, even if I don't think he's going to give you a ton of on-field value. Again, this team has it's seemingly taken hit after hit with the injuries, you know, with the offensive struggles the last 2 years. This team's just been taking a lot of hits. Andrew McCutchen, for all intents and purposes, wonderful clubhouse guy, wonderful leader. I think you bring him in to it's just a vibes move. I mean, there's no other way to say it than it's just a vibes move. Again, I think this offense can be okay without Profar. I was excited about Yastrzemski anyway. He's going to be starting a lot against righties. It does hurt you in the DH spot, obviously. You know, Eli White, I think, can piece things together until you get Murphy and Ha-Sung Kim hopefully back. And then I feel much better about it. I think you bring in a guy like McCutchen just for the pure vibes that are needed. And again, I'm not in that clubhouse. Maybe they're good to go. Maybe they brush this off. You know, a lot of the guys are, not a lot of them, but several of them are out at WBC. Profar's supposed to be one. What does this change Profar's ability to play in the WBC? I actually hadn't even thought of that. But morale needs to go up. And I think bringing in somebody like McCutchen, who, again, 740 OPS against lefties last year, I think he can definitely still bring you some value, on the field value. But I think even more than that, just the personality in the clubhouse to turn things around and to uplift everybody from just more bad news. Will be saying he can't play in the WBC. I heard Kara confirming that as well. He's ineligible for WBC. Yeah, I hadn't even thought about the World Baseball Classic. Would make sense that he wouldn't be able to participate in that either. But I don't know. Let me know your thoughts. Who do you think the Braves could go to? Like, who realistically could they go to right now that makes a lot of sense. Again, we talked about McCutchen and Paredes. I haven't done, and that's just kind of what, I've seen on social media. I haven't done a ton of looking into, where they could go, because I mean, anybody that's anybody has signed at this point. I know some people talked about Byron Buxton. I'm not overpaying now to go get Byron Buxton, even if that were an option. But I would love it. I mean, that would be a great one. Will Pena says trade for Jorge Soler. Yeah, we're not going down that road again. Yeah, go get me. Again, it's just, you're late in the game, but AA does have time to make something happen. And I think he has to. I think you absolutely have to do something at this point. Again, looking at this Braves depth chart and just seeing Dominic Smith in the opening day lineup right now just makes me chuckle. Of course, the Braves will face a lefty on opening day and Cole Reagan, so that wouldn't be the case anyway. But now you're looking at, if you're looking at opening day lineups real quick against the left-handed starter, you're looking at Ronald, Baldwin, Olsen, Riley, Ozzie, Michael, Eli, Jonah Heim, and Mauricio Dubon. Is that the lineup that you're potentially looking at on opening day with a lefty starter on the mound? I mean, it's not the worst lineup in the world. Don't get me wrong, but definitely not what you were hoping and expecting coming into the season. Isaac says, Jake, I'm upset. I am too, and more so just dumbfounded that Profar let this happen again. Matt Carter says Jesse Winker. He's a jock personality type. Mass Boost says Kyle Farmer's a 117 WRC plus hitter against lefties. Again, I get it. There's certain guys out there where you can kind of plug and play. And as I've tried to make clear in all of this, missing Profar isn't going to kill the season. Like, I mean, that can be replaced, with an Eli White, with a Kyle Farmer to a lesser degree. I was still expecting more out of Profar, and I think Profar is the type of hitter that I wanted in this lineup with the high on base ability and the lack of strikeouts. But it's just annoying, I guess. Again, I keep trying to think of the right word. If I think of it, I'll post it on social media and let you know. But it's just, why is this happening again? And why is this happening to the Atlanta Braves? That these things just keep on happening. Clay says he has to be something he doesn't know is a PED. But I'm just coping. Again, after you've done it once, like you make a mistake once in your workplace, you are hypersensitive to that going forward. And you might make that mistake. I'm talking about like huge mistakes. You might make that mistake again, like a couple of years down the road or something. You just get, relaxed and you forget about it. It just kind of slips your mind. Like, we're all going to make mistakes, but you just made this mistake last year, and you're talking about a big mistake costing you millions of dollars, $15 million this year to be specific. And you better take extra care that you know what you're doing and you're putting in your body. And that's why this is just so idiotic, dumb, whatever you want to call it. You think of the perfect word and let me know, because I've yet to find it. No video. We haven't seen any public statement from Profar. It's an off day today, so probably the right timing to do it, as I'm assuming that there's no media availability. And then will they make Profar available tomorrow? So probably the good timing there from the Braves doing it on an off day like that. I also agree too, we haven't talked about it, but there needs to be something in the next CBA that if a player gets suspended for PED use, that you get to, either void you get a choice of to void a contract or something to that extent. Because this is just ridiculous. Like, the Braves are still on the hook for $15 million for this guy in 2027, and we don't know who he is now. They paid for him under somewhat, false pretenses, and now you're on the hook for him for a guy that we don't know how much he's actually been boosted by PEDs. So you could release him, Clay, but you'd still be on the hook for that $15 million that you owe him for 2027. All right, that will do it for this episode of Locked On Braves. We will have another episode tonight. We'll probably talk a little bit more about this as we get more news and as I have more time to think on it. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below on all of this, the Profar suspension, who you think the Braves should go after to replace him. Do they need to go after anybody? Are you fine with Eli White, Kyle Farmer, Dominic Smith, rotating through that DH spot and just waiting till Murphy and Ha-Seong Kim get back? Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Thanks so much for joining me. Had over 300 people in here live today. So thank you so much for all your support here on the podcast. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, thumbs up button, all those good things to help out the show here at Locked On Braves. And we will talk to you next time.